Have you ever spent time with someone and afterward you just feel exhausted? Your body feels tired, but not the kind of tired that comes from doing too much. It's the kind that comes from giving too much of yourself and getting nothing back. You replay the interaction in your head. You wonder why you feel this way. You ask yourself, was it really that bad? And then you dismiss it. Because nothing obvious went wrong, but your body knows something your mind keeps trying to rationalize away. Here's something people don't talk about enough. Some people don't talk with you. They talk at you. They dominate the space with their stories, their stress, their problems. They talk and talk and talk, and you listen. About their life, their stress, their routine, their plans, about their achievements. And somehow, you're expected to feel every triumph, every problem as if it were your own, to engage with the same intensity every single time. You nod, you respond, you stay engaged. You ask the right questions. You offer reassurance. You become emotionally present. Then, somewhere in the conversation, you try to share something of your own. Maybe it's a struggle you've been carrying quietly. Or maybe, for once, it's something good. An achievement, a small win, something you're proud of. You offer it gently, almost cautiously. You don't make a big deal out of it. You just place it on the table and wait. And nothing really happens. They don't lean in. They don't ask more. They don't acknowledge the weight of what you shared or the courage it took to say it out loud. Sometimes they nod and move on. Sometimes they interrupt, minimize, dismiss. Sometimes they steer the conversation straight back to themselves. Or worse, they hear it and immediately overwrite it with their opinion that subtly distorts your reality. Are you sure that person isn't lying to you? That's not really worth pursuing. Why would you do that when this makes more sense? They push their agenda, their opinions, their version of events, or they ignore what you said entirely. And in that moment, it hits you. It wasn't just unheard. It felt erased, as if your voice didn't belong in the room. You feel something twist in your gut, but you swallow it. You tell yourself you're overreacting. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin accepting their version of things over your own. Here's what's really happening. They're not having a conversation with you. They're using you as a container. They unload their stress, their trauma, their frustrations. They ramble about their relationships. Their problems take center stage. Always bigger, always louder. They expect you to be present, empathetic, supportive. They expect you to abandon your plans and follow theirs. To say yes because they're lonely, because they need you. Because if you don't, you're selfish. They frame absurd compromises as fun, pressure as connection, emotional labor as love. And even when you don't want to do any of it, you go along anyway, because you care, because you love them, because you don't want to lose the relationship. When this happens repeatedly, your nervous system absorbs a message. Your feelings are smaller. Your experiences are less important. There's no room for you here, even if they don't say it outright, even if they're not doing it intentionally. Your body still registers the imbalance. Psychologically, this is called emotional asymmetry, where one person consistently expresses and the other consistently absorbs. And absorbing without being met creates depletion, because you're not just listening, you're containing them. Here's the deeper truth. You're not tired because you're empathetic. You're tired because you're erasing yourself to make space for them. You track their emotions, you respond carefully, you make sure they feel understood. What you're doing is called fawning in psychology, a survival response where your system chooses harmony over truth. You disconnect from yourself to stay connected to them. Meanwhile, your own thoughts stay unspoken. Your needs stay shelved. Your inner world goes untouched. That requires constant self-suppression, and self-suppression is exhausting. As Gabor Mate often explains, the body pays a price when we disconnect from our own needs to maintain attachment. Your exhaustion is that price, because every time you do that, it costs you energy, real energy, not just social tiredness, identity fatigue. Because when your voice isn't honored, your body keeps score. This doesn't always mean they're cruel, or intentionally hurtful, or even aware of what they're doing. For many people, this behavior isn't rooted in conscious selfishness. It's rooted in emotional underdevelopment. They never learned reciprocity. Some people grew up in environments where they had to take space just to exist, where being loud, urgent, or dominant was the only way to be noticed, where listening wasn't modeled, only surviving was. So they learned to speak, not to hear, to unload, not to hold, to center themselves because no one ever centered them. In psychology, this is often tied to emotional hunger, an unmet need for validation that never learned how to self-regulate. When they talk, they're not trying to connect. They're trying to relieve internal pressure. You just happen to be the nearest outlet. Is it selfishness? Sometimes, but not in a villainous way. It's more often unconscious self-centeredness, the inability to step outside their own inner world long enough to truly meet another person. Their emotions feel so big, so urgent, that there's no space left in the room for yours. Is it jealousy? Sometimes, quietly. When you share something meaningful or joyful, it can activate comparison. Your growth reflects what they feel stuck in. Your clarity highlights their confusion. So instead of celebrating you, they minimize, redirect, reframe your experience through their own lens. Not because they want to hurt you, but because they can't tolerate what your experience awakens in them. This is how they've always been. Nobody ever corrected them. Nobody ever called them out. Nobody ever said, "Hey, what you're doing right now isn't okay." So they keep repeating it, interaction after interaction. Every time, all the time. It's not that they're inherently cruel. It's that behavior that goes unchallenged becomes reality. This is classic reinforcement. If they're constant talking, their emotional dumping, their self-centeredness never met a boundary. Their nervous system learned, this is normal. No friction, no consequence, no awareness. So they keep doing it, unconsciously, automatically, like breathing. And if anyone does react, it can trigger defensiveness, shame, or even anger, because their survival model depends on being the center, being needed, being validated. And for you, you become the mirror of their unexamined patterns, the listener, the container, the one who bears the weight of unprocessed emotion. But when you stop performing empathy on demand, when you stop abandoning your plans, when you stop absorbing their emotional weight, they feel destabilized, not because you did something wrong, but because the dynamic no longer serves their nervous system. And this is where compassion needs a boundary. Because understanding why someone behaves this way does not mean you are required to stay in a role that drains you. Empathy without boundaries isn't kindness, it's self-erasure. You are not here to be someone else's emotional regulator. You are not here to shrink so others can feel big. And you are not responsible for carrying what they refuse to look at within themselves. You don't fix this by explaining yourself better, or giving more, or trying harder. You fix this by not abandoning yourself. You don't have to confront them or fight for recognition. That only feeds the exhaustion. Instead, begin by anchoring quietly in your own experience. When they dismiss what you've said, overwrite your achievements, or redirect your thoughts, silently tell yourself, I am here. I exist. My words matter, even if they don't hear them. It's not dramatic or loud. It's the simplest reclamation of your self-worth. You honor yourself first, even in silence. You can allow them to speak their storm without absorbing it. Listen with presence, but let the tension and urgency of their story remain theirs, not yours. When they pull you into their plans, their whims, their drama, pause, notice it, breathe, and give yourself permission to step back without apology. And when they respond with dismissive comments, backhanded opinions, or complete indifference, you don't have to internalize it. You don't need to argue, explain, or prove yourself. Their reaction is a reflection of their patterns, not your value. Let their words slide around you. Stand firm in your reality. Protect the energy that fuels you, your plans, your voice, your boundaries. This is the slow work, invisible at first. They may resist, subtly or openly. You may feel guilt, doubt, fear. That's normal. Your nervous system has been trained to collapse under the weight of other people's emotional storms. It's slow work. You will feel discomfort. You will feel guilt. That's your old programming trying to pull you back. But each time you choose yourself, each time you refuse to vanish, you rewrite the rules. And here's the truth you need to hear. The people who matter will rise to meet you. The ones who don't, their patterns will no longer touch you. You'll still interact, still care, but the exhaustion will no longer anchor your body and mind. You will be present, but you will no longer vanish into their storms. You will be fully yourself, and that alone changes everything.